first of all, it's not a planet. It has a more of a ancient history sort of notion of an endless ocean and a curving surface of land. It's not in space. The sun really does, get born and die as it, goes through the day. There is a moon, but it is stationary, and it cycles through red and black in crescents. But that's not because the sun is, the earth is casting a shadow relative to the sun or anything like that. No, it's up there revolving in those colors, and it's actually a god or a goddess itself. It tore itself loose from the ground within recorded history. History itself is only 1,600 years long, since the dawn of time. There's an extensive mythology about before time began and how it came about that time began. There have been great ages, roughly 500-year cycles. So we're in sort of the third age, the waning of the third age of Glorantha in the 1600s. And a great deal of it has to do with the role of chaos in metaphysical terms. At present, the time that most people are interested in playing in has to do with the empire that moon goddess presides over, and its various, takings and occupations and ambitions, one of which is to get to the main ocean. You see, the oceans were closed, magically closed to travel for, untold time. They have recently opened, and now, sea travel has become a big thing again. The empire wants some of that. And in the way is geographically Afghanistan. And so you have there a bunch of obstreperous monsters and barbarians and other cultures, and they are not too keen, or some of them are not too keen on becoming subjects of the empire. So this would be just another kind of empire rolls over the barbarians, or the barbarians bleed out the empire for a while kind of story, except that it is the end of the third age, and the metaphysical, magical flashpoint that occurs from this reverberates all across the world, becomes something called the Hero Wars. And that's another thing that is important about Glorantha, is that it's doomed. This is not the beginning of history, really. These years that we're looking at ever since the dawn of time, this is the age of heroes. And after the next monster cataclysm, the world will be probably, at least depending on the sources of Glorantha that you read, the world will probably become rather mundane. And history will kind of taper into nothingness or the unknown at that transition. And we will only have the tales of the heroes and the tales of the myths and stuff, whatever survives or whatever becomes prominent during the Hero Wars. So the idea is that you're participating in the construction of the remnants of mythology that are going to be deeply important culturally in, for lack of a better word, the real world. See what I mean about things getting a little trippy and a little, do we call it pretentious? You can. It's fun. And you end up with a fair amount of, interest in this Hero Wars thing. So that's where Glorantha is coming from. It's harsh. The monsters are not nice. There are aspects of them which are deeply troubling, intentionally reaching right into the worst things that real people do. And there are, there's this sense of community. You don't live in sort of the fantasy world with its town and its inn and its money changer and, the dungeon just across the way. No, instead, you've got a sense of most people are farming or traveling or engaged in their societies, and that, war and strife are around, and they shoulder their axe, march off to war, and their family hopes they come back. And so you have this kind of more, along with all the trippiness, you also have this naturalism involved. It's a Bronze Age culture. It's in the presentation of Glorantha, not a steel medieval culture. It's not medieval. It's, again, based much more on parts East and parts older, including what you and I call Greek mythology, and yet more than that, the huge constellation of myth that's a part of is the primary inspiration for the kind of syncretic and repurposed myths and gods and stuff of Glorantha. So I hope that gives you some idea as to why people get into it. If it sounds a little intimidating, you know what? Don't forget, there's always the playful side too. And giving your character silly names or stuff like that has always been a part of Glorantha play. The sort of playfulness of, you got this badass, sorcerer dude with a sword on the cover of the rock and roll album, and then you got his little cartoon mascot next to him going, or something like that. That kind of thing is kicking around, and it's fun to have. It's okay to have fun with it as well. So that's sort of my take on Glorantha. You can hop in, get involved from a particular spot, see how your table interprets that spot, enjoy what's there. You don't have to learn the world. That's really actually pretty important. So you enjoy your piece, and you do the stuff there, and you enjoy whatever characters you come up with. Either their fun, their playfulness, or their tragedies, their dramas, and where they go in their lives. So that is my take on Glorantha that I hope was at least kind of interesting.